I think the biggest threat, isn't Google's update. It's like target CPA or target return on ad spend you set like 2 years ago, right? How's it going, everybody? Gene Villano's here. Another episode of the PPC Cave. Today we're at episode 119. But before we get into the title and the actual episode, I want to talk to everybody about our sponsor, Opteo. I have been using Opteo more and more now that they have introduced that AI function into the whole platform, where I have to-do lists and I go through and just click these to-do list save prompts, and it goes through all of my accounts super easy. I have the to-do list and it tells me what the actionables are for that week. It compares week over week, last 14 days, whatever you want to input. It takes all this data that's linked to not only the Google Ads, but the actual Google Analytics for each of your account, and then layered on top is that ChatGPT or that AI function. And this has been super helpful even with just doing negative keywords. I can just do negative keywords really quick on the fly. It pulls in all the data, gives me the search keywords that I want to go for, and anything that is not pertaining to that keyword, it could exclude as a negative keyword, either exact, phrase, broad, just does it all. So I can't really explain too much about it. You're not going to find the value in that. But if you do go to www.opteo.com/ThePPCCave and check it out, upgrade your 14-day trial to a 28-day trial, you'll be able to know all these features in and out. And sometimes seeing is believing, and taking a look at it for yourself will do it way better justice than me trying to explain the benefits of what Opteo can do for you. Again, that's www.opteo.com/ThePPCCave. Check it out and see for yourself. Getting into the episode, our title is Google's new smart bidding rules, effective August 17th, and August 17th, 2026, not 2027, or August 17th, 2026. So this is coming up. This is episode 119. Google announced a pretty big thing, in my opinion, a big update. And it's going to affect smart bidding. It's going to affect essentially anywhere you could use things like target CPA or target return on ad spend. And this is for everything that you got going on right now. This isn't only moving forward, but this actually still applies for anything that's technically grandfathered in. If you have a campaign that's running target CPA or target return on ad spend, all these campaigns will be impacted, even if you start something new in the future and have target CPA or target return on ad spend. I do want to share this video. Hopefully, if I share it, it could play on here and I won't get like a copyright or anything like that. But I think it's super important that I show y'all what's going on, and I share this, and then you could kind of see here's the Google Ads help. This is an actual Google Ads document on their website in the support area. And I'll just play it real quick, and hopefully you can get the gist of it.
Google is updating its bidding systems to help you grow your campaigns with more predictable performance. This update applies to search, shopping, performance max, and demand gen campaigns that use a target-based bid strategy. For example, a CPA target or ROAS target. Today, when a campaign is limited by budget, it may perform better than the bid target you've set. When you increase your budget for these campaigns, it's hard to know exactly what performance to expect. We've heard from advertisers that this makes scaling campaigns difficult. This update helps you get more predictable performance aligned closer with your bid targets, including when budgets are raised for campaigns limited by budget.
All right, I don't know if that played or if you actually heard it, but I'm going to stop sharing. That's all you need to know from that. But if it didn't play, I apologize, but that was only like maybe 2 minutes worth of silence there. I don't know. Hopefully it's not silent. Our editor, Joel, will let us know. But yeah, that's what it is. So right now, what's going on is if you have a target ROAS or even a target CPA, and essentially you have a higher target return on ad spend, or in this case, if your target return on ad spend is say 300, but your actual ROAS, what you're getting from that is 700, then they're going to decrease your return on ad spend just so that you can say, even if you're historically hitting 700, just so that they could say, oh, this is more aggressive. Google's just going to become more aggressive pursuing like the additional volume because you've told the system specifically you want 300, so they're not going to give you that 700 overflow anymore. So, from Google's perspective, basically it's working. What is intended is working. If you want a target CPA that's $10, but for some reason we're giving you only for $5, well, let's get you up to 10, right? So I think this is kind of important because a lot of my campaigns, and I know this for a fact, I don't even touch it just because I'm getting a good return on ad spend or getting a great target CPA. So maybe my target CPA is at a 20, but I'm getting at 7, and you're not going to have that anymore. You're basically going to be pushed up to a 20. And I don't know how performance is going to be at that point where, um, what is actually being, what actually is being received as your target, your actual CPA or your actual return on ad spend won't be where it was. Basically, it's going to be it's going to be worse. You're going to pay more money, right? That's essentially what it is. Because if I have a target return on ad spend and I set it for 500 and I'm getting 1,000 return on ad spend, and now Google's update on the August 17th is going to bring it down to a 5, that kind of puts me in a tough situation where I'm like, okay, well, then now I have to put it at the actual return on ad spend. So that is one thing that we have to make sure to do, um, even both for target CPA. And so let's go in order. Why does this matter for target CPA? We explained if you have target CPA at $10, but your actual CPA is $5, you will no longer get that. Even if historically Google is saying, yeah, you're generating conversions at $5, that's your actual, cost per acquisition. After the update, it's going to perform. Google says it's going to perform closer to that $10 target unless you adjust the settings or lower it to the 5 that you're actually receiving. And for advertisers with old cost per acquisition targets, and they haven't revisited it or they just kind of left it there, you're going to see a noticeable performance change for sure moving towards the target return on ad spend people. So the people that are obviously working with, e-commerce, most of the discussions is just primarily target CPA, but we do believe that ROAS is going to be affected also, just because why wouldn't it be? So as the example that I made earlier, your target return on ad spend is at 300, but you're actually getting a target return on ad spend of 700. Even historically, Google may have continued generating those 700% return on ad spend returns, but after the update, Google is going to become more aggressively pursuing it closer to the volume of that 300% return ad spend that you put in. That's your target return ad spend. So, some of the results might be higher spend, more traffic, lower return on ad spend, but the performance is going to move closer to the target that you set. And from Google's perspective, as I mentioned, that's what is intended for. But from an advertiser's perspective, it may feel like the performance is deteriorating or getting worse. But the campaign's most at risk. I think you have to really do an audit before August 17th. And if you don't, listen to this episode, I think you're going to kind of be in the dark here. Pay close attention if your campaigns uses target CPA. That's first and foremost. If it uses target CPA, you're in the lead gen or whatever it's been using target CPA, just make sure you do a quick audit of all your clients, all your accounts. Also, also do an audit if you have some target return on ad spend campaigns. Other campaigns that's probably going to be at risk if you have limited by budget. Just because I think that's what essentially Google is trying to push towards. It's like, okay, because sometimes, right, if the target CPA is say out of 10, like we mentioned earlier, but it's not hitting that, it's not hitting that 10, it might be at a 12, 13, 14 actual target CPA, then there might be a limited by budget little moniker, little notification there. So just take a look at that. Make sure that you could, get it to the actual return on ad spend that you want or actual target CPA that you want that's performing, because there might be discrepancies there after that August 17th update. And also check out your campaigns that significantly outperform its target for long periods of time, just because it's not going to be baked in like that anymore. It's going to be different now, since for anything after August 17, I think these campaigns are going to likely see an impact from this update. I think a lot of campaigns will, for sure. Yeah, just take a look. Another thing is, since July 6th, Google's rolling out a bid target adjustment tool. I think this tool will help identify, campaigns that potentially be impacted by the update and help advertisers, primarily, you and me, right, help evaluate whether their current targets is still aligned with the business goals or where it sits. And I think that's really important, for agencies or people like working in house. I think this has to be part of your account audits, especially moving up from July to August. But yeah, I mean, the audit, make sure you audit every PPC account that is using target CPA and target return ad spend. Um, but if Google optimizes exactly like towards this target tomorrow, are you think about it, are you going to be happy with the results? It's probably a no. It's probably going to be like, wow, like, I was banking on target CPA at 10 or at 5, and then now it's at 10 and I'm spending a lot more. What's going on? And if you don't know what's going on, like this update, I think you'll kind of be left in the dark and kind of be a little bit confused. So make sure that you're looking at these accounts and creating these audits, because even after August 17, even with these audits in place, I think it's really important for us to just kind of be on higher alert in these next couple of months, just because anything could happen, especially when they're messing with bid strategy. I feel like automated bid strategy in general, it's difficult because it's like, all right, like, for manual CPC, you can understand a little bit more like what's going on, but sometimes target CPA or target return ad spend, when it stops working, it becomes a whole thing, and we're just like panicking, and it just doesn't make sense just because it's an automated bid strategy. So just be aware and audit, and just kind of be hyper vigilant these next couple of months. But yeah, to wrap it up, some of the key takeaways: make sure that you understand that this update affects both target CPA and target return on ad spend campaigns. That's obviously first and foremost. And understand that the biggest impact is going to be in campaigns that are limited by budget. Google is moving towards optimizing closer to the target that you set. So make sure the target that you set, actual return on ad spend, actual CPA, is what is set in your campaigns. But yeah, campaigns that are significantly outperforming their targets, you might experience a performance hit, after August 17th. Target return ad spend advertisers and target CPA advertisers are going to be impacted for sure. And then make sure that you check out that Google bid target adjustment tool that's going to launch on July 6th. And, I think every PPC manager should audit target-based automated bid strategy, especially target based campaigns before that rollout. I think, this is just really important, super important update. But yeah, I think the biggest threat, is in Google's update. It's like, it's the target CPA or target return on ad spend you set like 2 years ago, right? That you've been rocking with. I have a target return on ad spend on one of my older clients that's probably been going for 8 years. Um, well, close to 8 years. So I think that's just super important, super important for us to really make sure that we're locked in these next couple months, um, you know, because this bid strategy rule, or this bidding rule that's effective August 17th, is probably going to take people by surprise. But yeah, we, always want to get y'all the news, when we hear about it. So, um, I think that's important. It's important for us to do this. Important for PPC managers like me to, find outlets that we can stay current upon, just because there's so much changing in this PPC space. But that's it for now. Don't forget www.opteo.com/ThePPCCave. I'm sure if you had Opteo and didn't know about the target, you'd be able to audit your account, just because you'll see the discrepancy in performance after August 17th if you forgot that or didn't know about it. But yeah, upgrade your 14-day trial to a 20-day trial. If you have any questions, email theppccave@gmail.com. And if you want any management or audits or coaching, www.tempest59.com. That is Tempest, the number 5, the number 9.com. Reach out to me. I'm open for any of those things that I just mentioned. We release every Monday at 12 a.m. Mountain Time. We're on all social media such as TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and we're on podcast platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And as we always say, if there's nothing else, bye for now.